the coming hour, our goal is to give you a better understanding of Enscape for BricsCAD and hopefully make you interested to give it a try yourselves. I am Matthias. I'm doing business development at Bricsys, and I will give a short introduction about Enscape, and we'll moderate the Q&A at the end. You should all have the option to post questions during the webinar, and we will go through them at the end. Chi-Yan will do the hard work today, and she will do the actual demonstration. We will also record the session and publish it afterwards, so if you want to replay it or share it with your colleagues, this is not a problem at all. So let's get started. Maybe some of you already heard about Enscape. It's a real-time rendering and virtual reality plugin for multiple design tools developed by Enscape GmbH in Germany. We, Bricsys, created our own Enscape plugin specifically for BricsCAD BIM that fully supports the Enscape core functionality of real-time rendering, meaning that you cannot use an Enscape for BricsCAD license on another CAD tool, and you cannot run an original Enscape license on BricsCAD. So if you will look on the Enscape website, you will not see Enscape for BricsCAD plugin, so you need to visit our App Store to download it, buy it, and support. So here on the right-hand side, you see an actual screenshot of the Enscape application in our App Store. So you see the download button, the add to cart button to buy it, and just not on the screenshots, a little bit below, it's normally a contact button and that you can use to contact us for commercial technical questions about Enscape. So not a problem to reach out to us at all. So why did we actually choose to bring Enscape for BricsCAD on the market? Well, making renders is an important aspect of design workflow, and we didn't have a superior solution in BricsCAD or in our third-party solutions. But we are convinced that with Enscape for BricsCAD, we now have the right solution to fill that gap. And on the left-hand side, you see one of the most important reasons why we think Enscape is a good choice. So first, Enscape is a real-time rendering tool. This means you don't need to wait a long time to see the results, so it's actually on the fly. That makes it very easy to try out different things and make corrections in your design. So with other rendering tools, it often takes a very long time to see your actual results. It makes it less interesting during the design process. So it's a really good match if you're using BricsCAD BIM and you want to try out different things. It's also really good value for money. We believe it's 295 euros a year or 325 USD a year. So it's a little bit cheaper than the original Enscape version and much more affordable than other rendering tools that can cost 5 to 10 times this amount. Some of the best architecture firms in the world use Enscape, so we can offer a solution is proven to be successful. As Enscape states on the website, 83% of the top 100 architectural firms like KPF, Foster & Partners, Arup are using Enscape for real-time rendering in VR. So it's not something new, it's actually proven technology. And last but not least, it's very, very easy to use. So you don't need to train or hire an expert in your firm to make these renders. For example, HOK Architects, big architectural firm located in New York, gives every architect an Enscape license because it's that easy to use and that valuable in their day-to-day work. But I will now give the word to Chi-Yan, so you can see for yourself that it's really easy to use and to create your own renders. So Chi-Yan, I'm going to give you the screen.
Thank you, Mathieu. Okay, let me show my screen. All right, so today I'm going to show you in my demo how you get from a very simple BIM model that I have here in BricsCAD and set some settings in Enscape, how to add some render materials to it and so on to create a more realistic render in the Enscape plugin. So when you've downloaded the installer from the App Store and follow along the steps to install the plugin, you will normally have a new tab here called Enscape, and you will see some features for the Enscape plugin right here. So let's start and see how this actually looks in Enscape. So you'll see it's a separate window that it opens apart from your BricsCAD window. So let's use the instructions here to navigate a little bit closer to my project. So here I'm in fly mode, but for example, if I click on the spacebar, I can switch over to the walk mode, for example, like this. So like this, you can walk around in your model and see for yourself how some designs or render materials look in Enscape. Now I'm going to make this window a little bit smaller, as well as my BricsCAD window, so you will see at the same time how it works on both ends. So just like this. So I will be working on the BricsCAD window as well, but you will see the real life updates that it does in Enscape. So before I start add in any materials, let me just show you some basic settings that Enscape has. So you will see here there are 7 tabs. So the first one is general, so it will give you some options for rendering styles and for example exposure settings and so on. So like this, for example, for outlines, you will see here, if I turn it up, it will give my model in Enscape a more of a sketchy look, and you will see the edges accentuated. Next is image, which gives us some highlights options, shadow options, and so on. You can also add in saturation color. For example, like this, you can turn it up. You can choose some options for the imaging of your Enscape window. Next thing is atmosphere, which is mainly for the background of your environment in Enscape. So now I'm in the preset forest, but for example, you can change it to mountains or even just white cubes, for example, to change the background of your environment. You can also load in your own skybox, which is your own image that you won't have as a background as well. Some other settings are clouds and sky orbs that you can set, for example, the density of the clouds and so on. The next thing is input. So you have some mouse and other navigation options that you can do. For advanced, you will have some spectator settings, as in height and width, that you can choose from. And then for capture, these are some resolution settings mainly. When you render an image out of your Enscape window, you can preset a resolution of the image that you are going to render. For example, you can set it to Ultra HD or even customize any resolution you want. Same for video and panorama quality, you can set these here. And lastly, you will have the customization window where you can just do some customization for your user interface for your Enscape plugin. Now, these settings that I just did, for example, these are all saved automatically. So if I close off this project and I open another one, the settings in Enscape will be the same. So it will also look like this. Of course, you can also use presets for that. So for this demo, I have made a preset in advance, so I can load this preset in. So this one. Okay, so now you see the presets that I did specifically for this project, so I won't lose any of the settings that I've added before. So now I can close off my window here and actually start adjusting some elements from my model. So for adding render materials, there are actually 2 methods that you can do for adding materials into your model. So the first method is with the render materials panel. So you can just choose some materials that are standard in the library or create your own materials to use onto this model. The second method is with compositions. So I will explain you later on how that works. But with compositions in the plies, there are actually also some render materials assigned to it. So you can actually use compositions to add in render materials as well. I will explain you this a little bit later, but first let me explain you the first method, which is the render materials panel. Just it's really simple. So if I just zoom in a little bit more, can see better, and I can select, for example, the slab here in front of the house and just choose a standard material of this library, for example, light wood, and drag and drop it inside my drawing, and you will see the instant change in Enscape. So you'll see how it looks in the project, and whether you like it or not, you can change it to another material. So this is just with some standard materials that we have here, but we can actually also create our own in the materials dialog. So here is all the materials listed from this particular drawing, and lightwood is the one that we just added. But let's create a new one from scratch. So click new and just give it a name. For example, I want to have wooden planks, so I call it planks here. And then here I can add in some options. For now, I'm just going to add a diffuse map. So what it is actually a colored image of the texture that you want to add. So this one. And I also want to add in a bump map. That is this normal map here that I'm going to choose, the purple one. So this will give it a more textured look and a more 3D effect when you open it in Enscape. So these images I have downloaded from the internet. So these are just external images that I can attach to this texture and this bump map. I'm just adding a scale to it. You can also position it a little bit differently if you would like to, and add in a rotation, for example. But for now, that's fine for me, and I can just close this dialog. So to replace this material, I can zoom in a little bit more. And let me just select this and then go to the properties. And now you see here in material, I have light wood, but let's change it to the planks material that we just made. Voila. So you see here how this new material that I just made looks in Enscape, and you'll see these images are have a much higher resolution than the standard materials that you already have in BricsCAD, but yeah, it's much more detailed than the regular material, so that looks pretty good. So when you're satisfied with a certain material that you've made in a drawing, you can actually also save it in the library. So you can use this particular material in other projects as well. So for example, here, planks. So this is a material that I made and I like it and I would like to use it for other projects and other drawings. I can go ahead and add material to library. So if I've done that, you will see in the render materials panel, you will have an extra folder called user defined. So these are all the materials that you made yourself. And here is my new material that I just made called planks. So like this, you can save up and create your own library of render materials. All right, so now I just showed you how to add render materials and create new ones, but you can also just use this materials dialog to just adjust certain existing materials. For example, this window here doesn't look that realistic now. You see also the glass is a little bit foggy, so you can also change that in the same dialog that I just showed here. Like this. So the window frame is in the material called metal. So if I click on the diffuse color here, now it's black, and you will see here in Enscape as well, the frame is black. Let's change it to a grayish color and add a metallic finish to it so it looks a little bit better. So now you see that looks already much better than before. Same thing for glass. So let me just select the glass here and add it also a diffuse color to it. So let's say something blue. So you see now my glass actually has a kind of blue shine to it since I've edited this material here. Since it's glass, let me just also add in some more glossiness, and the transparency can also be higher. The refraction index can be also just slightly up. And for self-illumination, I'm not going to do anything. So these are more useful for artificial lights that we are going to create later in this demo. But lastly, just for reflectivity can be also a little bit higher as well. So like this, I can close this again. And you see now my glass also looks much better than before. So like this, you can play around with some settings in the materials dialog and see how it looks in Enscape to create a more realistic representation of my model. All right, so now I just explained to you a little bit how the render material panels work and how to add in or adjust any materials that you already have. But with that, you can also use keywords. So what is a keyword? In BricsCAD, you can use the keyword grass and water. So what that means is when you use, for example, the word grass in any material name, this material will be rendered in grass in Enscape. So let me just select the slab here and add a ground material to it. So this is another external material that I'm adding called ground 03. And so these are also quite heavy textures. So these are 4K resolution images. But you see still it looks pretty flat in my Enscape window. So let me just go back to the materials dialog to change the name of this ground 03 image material to grass. So you can replace it with the word grass, or you can add just the word grass behind it. It's up to you. But anyway, if there is the word grass in it, it will recognize the keyword. So if I press enter now, you will see the instant change in Enscape. Okay. So you see here now it's not that flat anymore, and you see that it has some extra texturing as in grass to my terrace here. So that looks much better than before, like this. Same goes for the water, for the words water. So here I have a swimming pool. So let's go there to see how that works. So let me just open up a section here. So you see in the Enscape window, you will see the instant changes, not only for render materials, but also if you change any geometry or form from your model, it will instantly be represented in Enscape as well. So it will always have a live link to it, but sometimes you may be or may not want this real life link, so you can toggle the live updates off if you would like to. So if I toggle it off, and for example, I close this section again, you will see nothing happens in Enscape because I pressed it off. So if I, for example, put it back on, you will see the instant change again in BricsCAD and in Enscape. So let me just open this section back up again, because I want to add in a water material to this block here that represents my water. Let me go back to the home, and here I have some water materials already. And because this material already has the word water in it, if I select that, it will instantly change to water in Enscape. So if I click on that, you will see how this looks in the Enscape window. Let me just quickly add in the tiles material as well. So my swimming pool is finished. I can close back my section. And now you see how it would look in Enscape. So this was the first method of adding render materials. Let me just go back outside for a second to show you the second method. So the second method is adding it with compositions. So that is useful when you use a BIM model, basically, where you already have some compositions assigned to walls and slabs. So for example, let's open up the level of detail and see how that goes. So some walls and slabs actually already have compositions assigned to it. So when they do, they will be represented by the outer ply. So you see here some slabs and some walls already have a render material to it. Except for the white parts, they don't have any compositions yet. So I will show you how to add those and how it works with the compositions. So let's open up the compositions panel. So here are the compositions that are in this current project, and I would like to add concrete blocks to it. So if I click on that, you will see here concrete blocks, and it consists of the material concrete. So if I double click on that, you will see how the appearance is. So for section, it has a certain hedge to it. Normally for elevation hedge, you can also add in something, but currently there is none. But for 3D, you will see it has concrete 38 material attached to it. So, okay, let me see how that goes. So I'm just selecting all the white elements that don't have a composition yet. And let me just drag and drop this concrete block material onto it. Okay, so you see now instantly, because this material already has a render material attached to it, it will instantly change to this concrete 38 material. Let's see. So this is how I add new compositions, but you can also edit existing ones. So for example, here in this wall on the side, I already have a composition assigned to it, but I don't really like the brick material that it shows. So I can still change that if you want to. So let's see how that goes. So if I hover over, for example, this wall, you will see the composition that is currently attached to this wall. So that's called exterior wall brick plaster 360 millimeters, which is this composition. So let me click on that one. And the same way, it has the materials ply per ply shown. So I would need the first one where the brick is. So if I double click on that, you will see currently for the brick material, it has concrete 03 attached to it as a render material, but let's change that to another brick material. For example, one that I pre-made and that I know that I like. So for example, this one, you can click OK. All right. Again, let me just use this structure browser to quickly select the wall that I need. So here I'm just selecting all the exterior walls and then I can attach this exterior wall composition to it. All right, so here just some reference plies that I can set. And if I press enter, it will load a little bit because this brick material is also in 4K, but you see now it has changed to this better looking brick material. So I can go back to my terrace and see how the rest looks as well. So, all right, that looks pretty good to me. So like this, I can close off this composition panel again, since I've added everything that was missing before, and I can, let me go back to the Enscape ribbon, toggle the live updates off for a second, and let me just hover around my BricsCAD window for some views. So let's save some views that I might like, and I don't have to navigate it all the time again in Enscape. So let's search for a view that I might like. For example, yeah, something like this. I can create this view, save it, and call it a name. Let me just do a second one as well. For example, here for the swimming pool, I can create a view. When you're done, you can still double check it in the views here. So this is also in Drawing Explorer. You will have the view 1 and the view 2 that I just saved. So you can switch over to both in BricsCAD again if you like. So for example, here in view 1, I will be back in view 1 here. So like this. Let me hover to the overview. All right, so in Enscape, it will be represented here on the side. So I will have my view 1 and view 2 that I created in BricsCAD. So let's hover over that, and you will see you can also switch between your saved views, which is really handy. All right, so the slabs and the walls are all done. Now let me just close off Enscape for a second to show you the full BricsCAD screen because we are going to add some components to it as well. So just to make it a little bit more realistic as in a house, I'm going to add or create a dining area for this project. So here in this corner, I would like to add some components to it. So the components library. So I'm just using some standard library elements that everybody has to add in some more components to it. So for example, this desk here, I can, let's say something like this. So all the components are parametric, so I can still change the length of this like this. All right. A second component for the chair. For example, like this. I can use the manipulator to just adjust the rotation and the location of this. So I can put it a little bit more, oops, a little bit more in front so it's closer to my table and a little bit more to the side. For example, like this, maybe just a little bit more. Okay. So now for components, all the components are by default set by block for the material. So what does that mean? It means when you, for example, select this component and I go, for example, add in a material. In this case, I'm just going to add a color to it. So for example, red. You will see the whole component will be in red. So if you would like to have, for example, different colors for the seats, but you want to have the legs of this chair always in a metal material, it's not possible. So you will have to open up a copy of this chair to check and add in the material yourself. So if you select the seat, you will see in properties, the material is set by block. So that means if you use this seat in another drawing and you add in a material to it, it will be that specific material that you chose for that project. So that's good. But let me fix the material here for the legs. So for the legs, I would like to have a metal material. So let's see how that is. So for example, here I'm adding steel one to it. So now you see here, all my legs have this steel material to it. Let me save this chair somewhere on my desktop. I can close it. So let me replace this chair with the one that we just saved. Okay, so you see now I have different materials on the same component. So the red seat will be the variable. So if I click on this component again, and let's say instead of red, I want to have a yellow color, you will see only the seat color will change and the legs will still be the metal material. So like this, I can copy my chair. And then also mirror it as well. So I have it on the other side of the table. All right, so that looks already pretty good for my dining area. But lastly, I want to also add in light fixtures for this corner. So again, I can go to the components library and choose a light. Let's see. So for example, this light cylinder can just drop it somewhere above the table. You can still use the manipulator to just adjust it a little bit, for example, like this, and I would like to have it on the side as well. Something like this. All right, so for this lamp fixture, I would like to also open a new copy for that to customize some materials for this particular lamp. So let's just add in a color for this bottom part, just a gray color. And then for this lamp cap, I am going to add in a red wing material for clear glass. And you see it doesn't have any light bulb yet, so we can quickly model that. So I'm hiding this part, and you can go to Home, create primitives, choose for sphere, and then create a light bulb out of this. So I'm just snapping to the center point and adding a radius to it like this. Okay, so very quickly, I have my light bulb, but of course this light bulb doesn't have any render material yet. So let's open up the materials dialog to edit that as well. So here you have already the blackish color that we added before, and then the clear glass material. Since it's a red wing material, you see here it already has some fixed options to it. You can by default not change, but you can still convert it to a regular material if you would like to change some settings. For example, here I want to add in a more blue color for my lamp, and then maybe the transparency can be a little bit lower like this. And that's good for me. Now let's add in a new material as well, so we can use that for the light bulb. So light bulb material. I'm going to add in a yellow kind of diffuse color to it since it's a lamp bulb. And then for this, I can still add in more glossiness, and the transparency can be also up a little bit. But most importantly, self-illumination can be set quite high since it's the lamp bulb and it should give light when it's darker. So like this, for example, my light bulb material is created. So I can select my sphere here to add in this light bulb material. All right, like this. So now my my component is done. So I can show back this lamp like this, and I can save it the same place as my chair. I can close this off and then replace this like this. Okay, so now I can just copy this as well. For example, like this. So that looks pretty good. I can just save my drawing for now. And like this, we can actually create some render material out of it. So the first thing, let's go to Enscape window. You can see some options as in render image, batch rendering, render panorama, and export standalone. So let's go over this. And let's start Enscape again. I can open the full window. It's maybe easier to see. Yeah, so like this. You see that my view are still here. So for example, I can still move like this and just walk around my Enscape to have a composition that you might like for a render. So for example, like this. I can change the time of day. So maybe something like this. So when you're done choosing a view, for example, like this, I can render my image. So you have to go back to your BricsCAD window and render this image. It will ask you for a destination file. So for now, let me just save it on my desktop. save, and you can see in Enscape it will have a status bar for rendering this particular image. All right, so you see it's fairly quickly done. If I check my desktop again, I have a screenshot here, and this is the same one that we just chose. So this is render image. You can see also batch rendering. So that means it will render all the saved views that you have. So these ones at the same time, and it will be saved in the same folder. So you don't have to click on each saved view you have and render it separately. So you can do it all at the same time. But now let me show you how to create videos as well. So for videos in Enscape, you can create two kinds of videos. So the first one is a time-lapse video, and the second one is a walkthrough video. So let me show you how it works for a time-lapse, for example. So again, search for a composition that you like for your time-lapse, for example, this, and you can type in K. Just, whoops, all right. So now you see if I type in K, you have the video editor here. So I can click on add keyframe. And so this is your beginning of your video, and I can add a second keyframe for the end of my video. So if I click on this triangle here, it will give you a keyframe editor. So currently it shows I'm in the second keyframe, and I can switch over to the first one as well. So you see here, I'm in the first keyframe editor. So here I can start with the first frame that I want to have in the beginning of the video, let's say somewhere during midday, like this, and apply it. And then I can switch back to the second keyframe to add in until what time I want to have this particular time lapse. You see also, if I go back in the dark here, you will see the light fixtures that we just created is lighting up since we set the self-illumination for this material. But let's say around 6 in the evening. For timestamp, you can also set the timestamp for around maybe 8 seconds and apply this second keyframe. When you applied it, you can go back here and you will be back in the general video editor. So you see here the first keyframe and the second keyframe on your timeline. You can preview it to see how it looks in Enscape. So that would be a preview of your video. And if you like this preview, you can again go back to your BricsCAD window to render this particular video. For now, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to save the path of these keyframe settings that I just did in the video editor. So save the path so you can actually load it back in later on to adjust some settings, so you don't have to do it all over again. So I'm just going to save it on my desktop. And like that, I can actually safely remove, for example, all the keyframes and start with a clean slate for my video editor. Like this, I can actually go back to my BricsCAD window and load in a path. So this is another video paths that I've made beforehand. So I explained to you before for a time-lapse video, but you can also create a walkthrough video, but this is one that I prepared for this. And let's load it in and see how this looks. Okay, now back in Enscape, you will see now before my timeline was empty, and now you see a lot more keyframes added. So this is my walkthrough path. So let's preview it. So my walkthrough looks like this. So when you're satisfied with this walkthrough, you can also render it as a video. But yeah, this looks pretty good. Now I'm back to the beginning frame. But if I move a little bit out of this walk path, you see in 3D a representation of the whole path that I just loaded in my Enscape here. So each keyframe is represented by a camera. So if I click on one, for example, you'll be directly redirected to this keyframe, and you can edit some settings out of it as well. You can also add in more keyframes if you would like to, but yes, this is just an extra option that you can do for keyframes and rendering videos. So okay, so maybe just remove it all again, and let me see for some other options that you can add as a render, as an output file. You have also the option to toggle VR on. I cannot show you today, but it basically, if you toggle this on, you will have a pop-up in Enscape that says you have to connect your VR glasses. And when you've done that, you can basically walk through the same project, but with VR glasses on. So this is an extra option that you can do for demonstrations. And the last thing that I want to mention for export, you can export a standalone file out of this model. So what that means, it's a separate executable file that you can save. So if I click on that, you will see it's an exe file that you can create out of this project. So I've already done one. So I don't need it for now. I can just show you the old one. So let's close off BricsCAD and Enscape. So you will see that I don't have any rooms on running Enscape or BricsCAD or anything. And like this, I can actually go ahead and open this exe file that I just showed you with the standalone. So what it basically does, you can create this file and share it to third-party clients, for example, or other colleagues, but they don't necessarily have to have BricsCAD or Enscape. They can still check out the project in this viewer. So of course, it's only for viewing. If you would like to change render materials or, for example, delete the chairs or something like that, it's not possible. But it's very handy for quick demonstrations that you would like to do or show how it looks in the project. So you will have some basic settings that you can adjust, and also the saved views are there as well. So that's also pretty handy, but this is an external executable that you can share with others, even though they don't have Enscape installed on their computer. So this is a nice extra output file that you can share with others. So like that, I think I'm done for now. So we just started with a very simple BIM model, and in just little than an hour, I think, we've created some more realistic images and render outputs with Enscape. So I think that's it for me, and I can give back the word to Mathieu.
All right, thank you, Chi-Yan. That was really helpful. So before we jump into the Q&A, I just want to remind you, if this looks interesting, you want to try it for yourself, you can go to the Bricsys website, bricsys.com, click on products on the top left, and go to the third-party applications. Just fill in Enscape in the filter bar and click on Enscape, and there you will find more information about Enscape. And you can download it and try it for 30 days, just like BricsCAD, for free. And then, of course, if you're interested to buy it, of course, you can also do it on the same page. So in meanwhile, I will share some questions that were asked during this session this morning. For example, there's not a Mac version available, so it's only Windows, just like the original Enscape version. But we are working on other rendering tools to offer you, so you can, of course, have your own choice. But today, Enscape will only work on Windows machines. Another thing, maybe also interesting, it's only subscription. So again, just like the normal Enscape, so you only can rent it. There's no perpetual option. So that's also something I would like to share. And of course, we'll not only be sharing the recording of this session. Soon there will also be tutorial videos posted on our help portal about Enscape with some instruction videos that can help you to try for yourself and get your hands dirty with Enscape for BricsCAD. So again, thanks a lot for attending, and I would like to wish you a pleasant day, pleasant evening, and thanks for listening.